Week 5 walking, 17th to 23rd of May 2024. Walking in circles. Distance walked 53 miles. Duration walked 16 hours, 47 minutes, 49 seconds. The week started with a day of nature. I walked up onto what was becoming my regular Friday day one route onto the Dava trails of the Dreggie-Gorton loop. I was welcomed by the mournful and melancholic warble of the Curlew that had returned for the summer. A cuckoo being chased overhead by two smaller songbirds like a pair of RAF's Typhoon fighter jets escorting a Russian bomber from the UK's airspace. Throughout the walk, Lapwing danced and dived in the air, continuing circling down towards the ground, while Skylarks hung high above the ground, softly chanting their tunes. Numerous Black Grouse were startled by me and in turn startled me as they erupted from the low blaeberry bushes and scrubbed at the trail's cut through. Back on the ground, I spotted two large deer silhouetted against the skyline. As I came to the end of the trail loop, descending from Rhinecra Bothy, I noticed for the first time sand martin burrows in the sandbanks and was fortunate enough to see some of them flying in and out. I assumed they were checking out and updating their nesting burrows from the previous years. However, all was not good. Having wanted to get away from people, the trails were heaving, and I saw 3 other people during the 4 hours I was out. Terrible, I know. Day 2 saw me head back up onto the trails and undertake the Lock and Door loop, and I was blessed with a similar show of birds, including curlew, buzzards, lapwing, cuckoos, and oyster catchers. It was hot and sunny, yet with a welcome breeze, and even when stretching out for an extra half a mile at the end, I finished in the quickest time so far, completing the 20.2 miles in 5 hours, 52 minutes and 18 seconds. 33.4 miles in the first 2 days of the week was a lot, but I needed it because the next day I'll be running, and that wouldn't count for the challenge miles. Granton-on-Spey hold a short distance triathlon every May called Try. It is not a serious event and is focused on encouraging participation rather than acting as an incubator for future Olympians. My kids have enjoyed entering it as part of a team, and this year Annalena wanted to do it as part of a team. She is a pretty good swimmer, so she swam, her uncle Robbie did the biking, and I did the running. We beat the first all-male team, even though I was slower than their runner and Unky Robbie was slower than their biker. And so, the walking today, after a warm-up and a 4.5 kilometre run, was half a mile walk of deliberate warm-down around the school field, where the start, finish and prize giving of the Try was situated. This was enough to keep me on track for my new goal of walking every day. Week 5, day 4, which was Monday, saw my first overseas miles achieved. I was heading to Berlin for work and flew from Inverness to Amsterdam before getting a connecting flight to Berlin. After arriving at Inverness at 10:15 a.m, I planned to walk when I got to the hotel in Berlin, but there was a very short transfer window at Schiphol, and whilst I made the connection, I discovered later that my baggage hadn't. Asking for an update at the customer service desk in the baggage reclaim area, I discovered that my baggage was actually likely to be on the next flight out of Schiphol, so could be landing in a couple of hours. I chose to wait at the airport rather than head off and have to return the next day. What I can tell you is that after walking around a baggage reclaim area for over an hour, going round and round the same route, wearing a backpack, looking slightly redder each loop, is that armed security personnel do start to take an interest in you. Fortunately, I had stopped before I was stopped, and my baggage did indeed arrive. The moral of the story: take your opportunities to get your exercise in when you can, irrespective of what the plan might be. The next 3 days of walking were spent as a mixture of early morning walks and sightseeing with Paul, Mark, Colin around Berlin. The most obvious differences between Berlin and Grantown was the weather and air. At about 27 Celsius, it was much warmer than home, and there was a significant amount more pollen in the air, meaning I was a snotty mess. By the end of day 6, I'd already walked over 53 miles, so day 7 was an easy 2.1 mile walk completed before 6 a.m. I'm glad to say that on the return flight home, my baggage accompanied me all the way, and we got home at the same time on day 7. Hurrah! End of week reflections. Visiting a different country really provides insights into how people do things differently, and by observing how people go about their daily business. A less obvious difference I observed in Berlin was around people going to and from work. Unlike many UK cities, people really did wait for the red light before making any attempt to step onto a pedestrian crossing. This provides insights into how to fit in and be like a local or stand out and look like a visitor. An easy way to mark yourself out as a foreigner, even without speaking. Consider your own behaviours and think about what you do to fit in and be seen as a local, and how you might behave to intentionally be different to others around you. Thank you.